What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video on Fantasy Football Scout. Now, there haven't been a huge amount of videos from me recently. I've kind of been ill and not been able to record, but hopefully that's all kind of passed now. We're back to getting the content out for you on this channel. So if you do enjoy the videos that we're going to be doing, make sure to give them a like and subscribe if you're new around here. Obviously, we're in a weird situation where there's no current football being played. But there's still plenty of FPL to talk about, both from this season and past seasons. So there's going to be a few different videos coming out on the channel. We've also got the Football Manager FPL style, which is going to continue with David and Az as well, so plenty more to come. So if you do enjoy that kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe, like the video. Today we're going to be talking about forgotten FPL players. So obviously there's some players that have been kind of injured for a lot of this season, or they were ruled out for the remainder of the season, who now potentially have enough time to kind of recover from those injuries and actually help their team for the remainder of the season. Whereas before, they were kind of just forgotten about because we weren't able to put them in our teams and they weren't going to be back for the rest of the season, so there was no need to kind of worry about them. But things have changed now, so let's talk about them. There's about 4 players to go through, and then if there's enough other players to talk about, we might do a future video, maybe next week or the week after. Let's jump into it. So let's start off with Paul Pogba. Fair to say, it's not really been much of a memorable season for the Frenchman so far. He played the first 4 matches of the season, did get 2 assists in the opening game, but nothing really since then. Other minutes that he's played, game week 7, that's really the last time we kind of saw him properly. We've only seen him then for 26 minutes in game week 18 and 45 minutes in game week 19. And it's really been difficult to kind of know what's been going on. You hear from Solskjaer saying he's close to a return, and then he's had a setback and he's not going to be able to return for a while. Then he's close to getting back again, and then he never really came back after those kind of first 4 games. Like I said, we saw him for a bit during the season, but not a huge amount at all. And obviously, even though Man United haven't really been the go-to option for kind of FPL managers this season, you know, there's a bit of a stint with Martial doing well. Obviously, a few players or a few people would have had defenders early on, maybe because the underlying stats look good, but that never really came to fruition with kind of clean sheets and bonus points and stuff. But suddenly, with Bruno Fernandes there, they did end, you know, the last few game weeks doing pretty well, especially from an attacking point of view. And now maybe there is quite a few options. Martial's 8 million, Fernandes 8.5, and Pogba 8.3. So they're kind of all in and around the same price. And obviously, we're going to have to wait and see whether Pogba does get back and whenever the season might restart, how well he plays and obviously where he plays. But he could be a differential option. And obviously, that's kind of what we're going to be looking for, I think, because the season essentially is going to restart and every player would have had a lot of a break. Obviously, you hear managers and stuff talk about all the time how players need match fitness and obviously need to get up to speed. So it's almost going to be like pre-season. We don't really know how teams are going to perform. Yes, we can look back at what's happened for the rest of the season so far, but that might not be the same as what happens when the season restarts. So it's kind of a clean slate for a lot of players. Obviously, talking about the Man United options in attack, Martial has obviously got an advantage playing as a striker. And obviously, he's the main man there. No one's really going to be taking his place. There's no other player that can play there. That it looks like Solskjaer wants to use. Greenwood could play there. He gets used kind of sparingly. Obviously, Rashford's been playing on the left when he's fit as well. So previously, kind of Pogba's been used mostly in the double pivot, so a bit deeper back in kind of like a 4-2-3-1 potentially. And obviously, with Fernandes there, it kind of does maybe halt the appeal of Pogba, because you'd imagine if one of them is going to get to go forward, it's going to be Fernandes, given that how he started for Man United in the kind of few game weeks that we've seen him in. Obviously, you spoke about him in other videos, over 7 points per game so far, which is pretty good. So it's really going to depend how Man United set up. They could set up in a 4-3-3, play one of the more defensive-minded players like Fred and Matic maybe, and then have Pogba and Fernandes. That's potentially a bit too attacking. But if Pogba obviously is still there and fit, it doesn't really feel like they're going to leave him out of the team anytime soon, no matter how good Bruno Fernandes is. So I think that's going to be the thing for Solskjaer, working out how to get these 2 players into the team. It does look like he's probably going to be off penalties now, because obviously Fernandes has come in and taken them and done really well with them so far. And obviously for a 0.2 million price difference, potentially it's too hard to justify to go for Pogba. You'd maybe want to see a few matches first before bringing him in. But as a differential option, Man United have still got some pretty good fixtures left. Bournemouth at home, Villa away, Southampton and West Ham at home as well. So obviously, you know, maybe up until this point, a Man United double up, you know, I maybe someone like me would have gone for it because they're a Man United fan. They want players in their team from their team they support. Most other FPL managers probably wouldn't, but potentially with the fixtures they got left, Bruno Fernandes has come in and kind of changed things up. Maybe if Rashford and Pogba are back, the attack at least for Man United could be a decent option. So maybe there's even a way You could go a double up or even a triple up potentially. Triple up's probably a bit too far, but maybe a double up, two of Fernandes, Pogba and Martial, and it would probably be that Martial and Fernandes will be the higher owned as we go into the rest of the season. So Pogba could be one to look at, 8.3 million, decent price. Let me know what you think below. So Laporte, for a lot of FPL managers last year at least, was a bit of a double game week hero, knocked up a pretty good score in one of the double game weeks, but this year hasn't really been in our thinking too much so far. A bit like Pogba, played the first 4 games of the season but did get injured in game week 4 and didn't really then feature again until game week 24, so that's a pretty big gap. We did see him play again in game week 26 and 27, but even though he got brought back and obviously there was a long time out, it did feel like he maybe, not necessarily that he got brought back too quickly, but maybe asked to play too many minutes too soon in that Man City team, because his fitness just didn't seem to be there, especially in kind of the Leicester game. Looked like he wasn't able to necessarily keep up for the full 90 minutes, which you would expect for a player that's been out too long, because he's so important to that team. Obviously Pep wants him in there, but now, like everyone else, and we're going to keep kind of saying this, he's got a bit of time now to get that fitness up, and he's going to be on more of a kind of level playing field with the rest of the team. Now, Pep rotation is obviously something we talk about a lot, and it is difficult to navigate, but a bit like Kevin De Bruyne, you feel like Laporte is one of the first names on the team sheet when he's fully fit. So yes, he might miss the odd game, but you wouldn't expect him to miss too many, not like the likes of Bernardo Silva or David Silva, who you wouldn't necessarily be confident week to week as starting. I think if you had Laporte, you probably would be. Now, clean sheet wise, Man City haven't done amazing this season, but I don't think they've done too awful as well, considering they've been missing Laporte, who's such a big miss for their team. So they've got 10 so far. That's third place, 2 behind Liverpool and 1 behind Burnley. So you'd imagine if they'd had Laporte for kind of those 20 game weeks where he missed, that they would have got a lot more clean sheets. So for the rest of the season, hopefully they'll have him in the side, and then the clean sheets potentially could come as well. He's also not shy from attacking returns. So last year, 3 goals, 3 assists, which is a pretty nice return for a centre-back. So the potential is definitely there. Looking at the kind of game weeks that are left, or the games that Man City have got: Bournemouth at home, Norwich at home, Burnley at home, and Newcastle at home, all to come. And obviously, we don't quite yet know how the rest of the season is going to finish, whether there'll be double game weeks or triple game weeks. But a Man City defender with great fixtures has got a pretty easy job, you'd think, of kind of racking up clean sheets. And if you add the attacking potential there as well, then Laporte could be a decent option. The only thing that's obviously going to put people off a little bit maybe is a £6.3 million price tag. But we'll have to see what players we're looking at getting when the season does eventually restart. And then potentially 6.3 million could be a bargain. So Harry Kane up next. And the premium striker pool has been quite interesting this season. It doesn't feel like they've been as popular as they potentially would have been in earlier seasons. So I started the season in game week 1 with Callum Wilson was my most expensive striker. It's not very often that I would do that. I'd usually try and have at least one kind of premium striker in there. And obviously that hasn't been helped by the fact that Sterling started off so strong with a hat-trick. Obviously Mane, Salah and De Bruyne, when they've been fit this season, have been absolutely smashing it as well. So it's hard to kind of, for a lot of people at least, it's been hard to kind of warrant or be able to afford to have a premium striker as well. But we have to remember that Harry Kane is a player who scored 191 points in 2014-15 and then didn't score under 200 until last season. So he has been pretty consistent. But at 11 million, it almost feels like we're expecting more. So his highest season total so far is 224. And with 9 potential games left to play, or 9 game weeks left, Salah's only 38 points behind that already. De Bruyne is 46 and Mane is 49. So yes, Mane and Salah are more expensive, but De Bruyne has been cheaper for this season as well. So that's kind of why it's been hard to justify obviously getting Kane in. And it's maybe made it feel like, it's worth going for the premium midfielders instead of strikers so far. That being said, there's potentially a few reasons why he could be looked at as someone to consider. Obviously, one thing is for the rest of the season is we only care about points per match really and how much they can get for the rest of the season. It doesn't matter if Mane, Salah, De Bruyne come in with a higher total score. The kind of first 29 or so game weeks have already gone now. So it's only the remaining ones that we're really worried about. Can Harry Kane do well enough in those fixtures to warrant the £11 million price tag and warrant him coming in the team? So fixtures-wise, they're okay. They're not brilliant like maybe Man United and Man City have got, but Newcastle away, Leicester at home, West Ham at home, Bournemouth away are 4 fixtures that I picked out that are not too bad at all. So I think there's some nice fixtures left. Obviously, when he is fit, he's nailed on. He's on penalties. And one thing to consider as well with Harry Kane about kind of getting back to his best is we've had a lot of talk about whether he's been rushed back from injuries too often in the past, and this time he's not really got a choice but to wait it out, try and get back up to fitness and recover this injury. Now it was kind of talk about him being out for the rest of the season, so it was kind of a long-term injury, so it's not that he's going to be back up to full fitness necessarily straight away, and it might take him a bit of time to get over this injury, but it's definitely something to monitor. And obviously Spurs also had quite a few other injuries as well, so they are one of the teams that are potentially going to benefit from this enforced break. And Harry Kane, maybe with a bit of time off finally, could come back to his best, and 11 million could be a bargain. He's on penalties, absolutely nailed. There's no one else in that team that's going to take that striker spot when he's there. So maybe when we get back to business, maybe it's time for a premium striker, and maybe it's Harry Kane. It is worth noting, one other thing I'll point out, that the current world number one, he actually did an article, an interview on Fantasy Football Scout. He's pretty much had a premium striker in his team for the whole season. So there's people like me talking about how we've not really wanted a premium striker. They've not really done the business. There are people out there who are world number one who have had a premium striker. Mostly Harry Kane and Sergio Aguero, kind of splitting, between those two over the game weeks, who've done really well. So there's not one way basically to win FPL. There's obviously multiple ways, and maybe Harry Kane is the way to get back up the ranks when it continues. Maybe not quite in the same exciting bracket as a Paul Pogba or Harry Kane, but we've got Ashley Barnes as well. He's kind of been forgotten about. He had 4 goals in the opening 3 games of the season, so he started off really brightly. Obviously we all heard about the Barnes train, which was started off on Twitter by Hindu Monkey, so lots of people jumped on the Barnes train only for it to completely come to a halt. It did kind of go downhill after the first 4 games. So he hasn't missed the whole, like a lot of the season like Pogba and Laporte have, but he did come down with a long-term injury. He had surgery on a hernia problem. You'd hope that, again, he'd now have plenty of time to recover from that and get himself back into the team. The fixtures at Burnley are not amazing for the rest of the season, so some of the ones I picked out, Norwich away, Brighton at home, and West Ham away, are probably the best. And obviously they've got some games that maybe on paper they look okay, but given the teams they're playing, Wolves, Watford and Sheffield United at home, they're not necessarily ideal fixtures, and they have been tough in recent weeks as well. So I'm not necessarily saying we should obviously jump on Burnley players when it comes back, but he obviously has the advantage versus Pogba and Harry Kane that he's much cheaper, only 6.1 million. And the forward line, for a lot of us, again, like I said, the world number one has had a premium striker for a lot of the season, but a lot of people have been going for cheap forwards. And they have been performing well and kind of, ticking over with points for a nice cheap price. So 6.1 million could be good. The only other stumbling block is obviously, does he get his place back? Chris Wood is kind of a mainstay there. Vidra and Rodriguez have both done well in kind of the absence of Barnes and Wood at times as well. So it's going to be maybe hard for him to get back in. But if he can get some of that form back, and obviously we saw last season he was posting some really good underlying numbers as well. That kind of came to the fore at the start of this season when he performed well from a goal scoring point of view. But we need to see him get back to that. So I wouldn't rule Barnes out just yet. As a cheap option, he could be nice for 6.1 million. But obviously there is a lot of competition there with the likes of Deeney and Calvert-Lewin as well. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But potentially an option. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like. Be much appreciated. And leave a comment below. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see on this channel. Basically, like I said, I've got a lot of stuff planned in terms of looking over kind of this season and maybe the remainder of this season, but also looking back on previous seasons, kind of FPL legends and stuff like that. So just some things to keep us ticking over. So leave a comment below, and obviously let me know what you think about this particular video. There's some players that are injured or have had injuries that you weren't really looking at, but now given the situation we're in and that the season might restart after a kind of a longer period of time off, they might be back. Are there any players you're now considering? And obviously subscribe if you're new around here. Like I said, plenty of content to come. Hit that notification bell so you know when all the videos are going live, and I will catch you next time.